Hello, hello, Gilbert. How are you doing today?
Hi, Hadar. I am doing great. I feel wonderful. I'm just happy and excited to be here today. So that's it. How about you?
I'm super excited. I was waiting for this conversation. Having seen your work and what you've done and just knowing who you are. And I was like, I cannot wait for you to share your story with my audience. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation and also learning more about you. And let's start by you just introducing yourself and telling us who you are and where you live, and maybe a quick story about how English is connected to your life, because we're here also to talk about English. So
Absolutely.
go ahead.
Well, but before I even start introducing myself, I just want to, to say how honored I am today, to be being interviewed by Hadar. So it's a real pleasure to be here today with you. When I saw the invitation email, I was like, wow, this is Hadar wanting to interview me. So I was so happy because this feels like live visualization becoming true because back then when I first started my English learning journey, I could, imagine myself doing this kind of thing, speaking English like this one day. I was like, come on, man, I can do this, right? So time has passed, I've improved, and I'm just happy for the journey and grateful for the journey, of course. So I'm really thrilled to be here. So, so to introduce myself, I'm Gilbert. I'm originally from Guinea, but I currently live in Morocco. I've been living here for 6 years now. By the way, Guinea, because I just want to be a bit precise, because Guinea is a French-speaking country, so French is maybe first international language, and it's located in West Africa. Because a lot of people usually tend to confuse the country. So it's the red color, it's the tricolor, red, yellow, and green in this order. So just make sure you don't confuse it. So when I
Got
graduated
it.
high school, I moved here as an international student, and I majored in electromechanical systems engineering. So I graduated last year, but I'm still in Morocco seeking new professional opportunities while I keep improving my English and overall my technical skills and professional experience before going back to my home country. I am also a people person, a community person, because I've been engaged in serving my community here throughout my academic years. So through different social activities, whether in school or outside of school. And I am also a former student of New Sound, the New Sound that probably you guys already know about. And I had the opportunity to join New Sound from the last season, September 2025, through the scholarship that Hadar launched. And, that scholarship, I guess it was about helping people, helping some of our followers who, couldn't afford the course. So I applied to that scholarship. I got selected, and I'm just happy to be part of New Sound. So that's pretty much my background and who I am.
And it's been such an honor. Like, I feel like having you as a student is such a gift for me as a teacher because you always had the best questions. You were always participating. I remember that you almost showed up to every live session that I hosted, at least. Like, I remember seeing you fully engaged, asking the right questions. And I love it. Like, we do have a scholarship program, and I'm so happy that you accessed New Sound through it. But a lot of people don't necessarily take advantage of it. And I felt like you were not only using it for yourself, but you were also using that opportunity to give back to your community and to other members. And I just want to say a huge thank you and how much I respect that and appreciate it. So thank you, Gilbert, and thank you for being a part of this.
Other things to you, Pauls. Other things to you, because as I once said, I guess it was the week 12 closing New Sound closing celebration. I was like, this is not given to anybody, and not everybody does this. Giving courses like this for free, like this is not something that everybody does, and you doing it means that you love people. You are also a people person as I am. You're also a people person. That's different from all the different English teachers that we have here online, right? So all the thanks to you.
Thank you so much. So tell me, let's start with How do you feel in English these days? How is English a part of your life? And tell me what is possible for you in English.
My English speaking experience has changed, of course, over time. I mean, from level one to level, level two, going on and on and on. So now I can do many things in English that felt impossible back then when I first started. Before we even started the journey, things that felt impossible to me, now I'm able to do that. First of all, having people I can now like really now I really feel comfortable telling people that I do speak English, right? So it's not just about because learning a new language, like the main purpose, the main goal of learning a new language is to be able to communicate in that language, right? So it's not just about doing all those grammar things. You get the vocabulary, all the papers, how to do on paper, but when it comes to speaking, it's hard. So pretty much I can say that now I really feel better, right, when it comes to really speaking the language. And I have many friends, online friends, of course, in different countries, different English speaking countries, and I just feel comfortable speaking to them. So I can say that pretty much my daily, I mean, English has now become part of me, even though I don't really speak English in my day-to-day life, but I do pretty much everything now, especially when I'm alone, because since I don't speak in an English speaking country and I don't live with people who speak English. So and I'm saying that for myself, especially I'm reading, I'm watching content online, I'm doing exercise, working out, all those things I do in English. And I can say that pretty much English is now part of me and part of my daily life personally.
I really hope that people who are watching this who tell themselves, oh, I can't get fluent in English because I don't live in an English speaking country. I don't have English speaking friends. I don't have money. I don't have, like I hope that they get to see your story saying, I don't have anyone around me who speaks English. And I can say, I'm a person who speaks English, and not just you speak English, you have the confidence, you're able to express yourself, you show up on video. So I think this is the best example for why, if you set your mind to doing something, everything is possible, especially nowadays when internet connects us and we can connect with people all around the world. How important is it to have around you in your world those speaking partners or a community of some sort? How would you say it helped you improve your English or build the confidence that you have now?
Well, having people around, I usually say that community is something that people underestimate the value of, because in order for you to build the confidence that you want to have, I don't know, whatever the thing that you want to do, whether it's being able, even in your own language, like in your first language, it's not just about English, but having people around who push you, right? Who encourage you to get out of your comfort zone to do something is really like very important in having those people around like that. So whether it's a small community or a big, whatever the number of people is, but having those people around that make you get out of your comfort zone and practice the language is really important. So it's not just about maybe the language English that we're just trying to learn, but since we are learning English and that we're trying to translate that, maybe to transpose that into English. So I can say that having online people, I mean online speaking partners, are very important in order for you to communicate. I mean, to really learn the language, because you can just learn all the grammatical things and the vocabulary, but if you don't have someone to practice with, it would be really hard for you to get what the confidence that you want.
Yeah.
So having people around is very important. So you can find people online, bunch of people online, but also having a community where you are really committed to is also important.
And that makes me think about whether or not there was a time where you felt that you didn't have a community, where you felt alone. Like I'm thinking about someone who just graduates high school and has to move to a different country to study. What was that experience like?
All right. So back then, when I moved here as an international student, like during my freshman year, it was like a nightmare, really. Let me start maybe by this, to just imagine yourself, sitting in a room, and where people are having conversations, but you can't express yourself, right? You're sitting in a room and you can't express yourself. And you hope not to be asked to speak because you know that if there's actually to speak, you won't be able to, to even open your mouth and then say anything because you don't know the language. You have been doing it on paper, but you're not able to open your mouth and then say it. So, well, that was my experience when I first came here as an international student. I had just joined NSAM, and that's the school I was admitted
So
to.
wait, I have a question about that. Like, what? How does that experience? How does it make you feel? What happens inside?
Well, as I just said, it was real. It was like a real nightmare. The experience. Maybe if I want to make it fast forward, one day we were assigned to do presentation in English, and I didn't really know what to present as a presentation topic. So a friend of mine who had been in the school the previous year suggested that I can present the country. I mean, our country, Guinea. So, the culture, the people, the tradition, and everything. So I find it cool. The idea was cool. So I prepared everything. And by the way, I was supposed to present it with someone, a friend of mine who came together, by the way. But the D-Day, it did not show up. So I ended up doing the presentation alone in front of people. So I stood there, tried to present in English. So I started with the little English I had back then. But after a few moments, my mind went blank and I couldn't continue the presentation. I finally ended the presentation in French because French is the language that we speak. But that moment, I felt like a failure, you know, and I felt like I did not really belong there because I was like, come on, man, how can I be able to get good grades in English, but I'm not able to express myself in English. So that feeling back then was something that really broke my confidence. That's where everything started. Taking English seriously. That's where everything started.
Was there a conversation in your head where a part of you said, "I should just give up," and then another part was like, "No, you have to push through," and then
Well, I think the very first conversation maybe it's not really a conversation, but I was asked to introduce myself, in the classroom the very first day, and I couldn't even do that like properly. So I remember back then I had to write first of all what I wanted to say in order for me to express it, and then when I finally opened my mouth, my English was broken. I've been doing this on paper, but not being able to express it, right? So that moment, I just said, a little bit about me, my name, where I'm from, and that was it. So that was me avoiding the conversation, maybe avoiding the situation because I could not do it properly because I didn't have the right words or the right expression to say it. So
so in that moment, and it's interesting because I know of a lot of stories of um different stories, but there is always like rock bottom, right? A moment where you say to yourself, I don't want to feel this anymore, right? Like this is not how I want to feel. And in that moment, some people give up, right? And say, okay, I'm just gonna stay in my little corner and not pursue my dreams and not, or wait for something to happen. And some people say, now I need to change. What got me here won't get me there. And then you start changing, which is what you are sharing that happened.
absolutely, absolutely, and so yeah, that's pretty much so. A bit fast forward, that was back in 2019, like, and then COVID comes, like that was when we started the second semester. It was around mid February, I guess, 2020. So classes classes were now online because COVID has just spread across the world. So lockdown began and everything. So the courses were now online. So that was the moment I told myself that something has to change, right? I do not want to relive this same nightmare again. That's where I started really, taking English seriously. So, but somehow, as I'm used to, I passed the exam because it's on paper. So I passed the exams and everything. So we ended the year. The next year we started, and then we started the next year still online. And then one day around October 2020, that's where my English learning journey started. I was on YouTube. I went on YouTube and I typed something like je ne comprends rien quand on me parle anglais in French. That basically means I don't understand anything when someone speaks English to me. So when I typed that, the very first video that YouTube suggested to me was a video from this French woman. Her name is Leah. So I watched that video, and without knowing that this video would work something inside of me, and that's where I made a decision to take English seriously. That was the beginning of my English learning journey, because we always have to start from somewhere, and from that point we get to grow step by step, right? And then that's where I really started taking English seriously. And then a few months later, I got to discover your channel through one of her videos, rules, where she explains. She recommends 10 YouTube channels that we can follow. Her subscribers can follow to learn English, and that's where the magic happened. I got to know your channel, so I got to discover Hadar for the very first time. And in in the summer 2021, I spent my whole semester, my whole summer in my room watching your videos, and of course some other videos of course,
Crazy.
really religiously watching your video, because this time around was really serious. I wanted to feel the language. And after a moment, after some months, that's where I started, feeling uh, in the language, like feeling myself in the language. I could now be able to, communicate a little bit in the language, because it was not just about learning English and then completing the exams, but it was really about learning it in order for me to speak the language, like to truly speak the language. It was not just about learning the grammar and then we're done, but really speaking the language, understanding people, right? And stop feeling limited, really. So that was really the turning point of my English journey. And ever since then, English has now become a part of me.
So there are two things that I want to ask you about this, because I love this story. I know I remember that in your application you said that you've been following my content for several years, but I'm curious what you felt was most impactful. And I think I know you love pronunciation work, and I'm sure that a lot of my videos are about that. And you also shared that the mindset work that we did inside of New Sound was extremely helpful for you, like really fundamental in how you think in English and outside. So, talk to me a little bit about the impact each pillar, pronunciation and mindset, has influenced and impacted your confidence and fluency in English. Let's start with pronunciation. Why was it important for you?
Well, pronunciation is really important because you can learn all the grammatical structures, all the vocabularies, but speaking the language is about being able to produce the right sound in order for you to be understood by people, right? I'm not talking about here. I don't really talking. I'm not trying to say that you should have maybe the American accent that people are trying to to mystify or something like that. But at least even if you have your accent, by the way, that's what really defines you, because uh, having an accent is something that people think that, well, if I have an accent, that maybe people will not understand me, but it's not really about your accent. It's about pronunciation. So pronunciation is really great. And the part that is really important is the prosody part, because of course you can learn the sounds, learn how to produce them, but being able to use it in the most effective way, in order for you to be more communicative, more expressive, you also have to learn prosody. And prosody is, the beautiful part of the language, like the musicality of the language. And that was really something that I loved about pronunciation. And the way you can express yourself, whether you're angry, I don't know, you are.
Yeah, so maybe let's explain what prosody is for people who are watching this and may not know. So what is prosody? You said the musicality, but what are the elements that you remember that go into prosody?
Well, especially when it comes to your intonation, rhythm, phrasing, for example, all those things are things that personally, when I'm watching the content in English or when I'm trying to speak in English, I try to implement in my speech because that's what gives meaning to what you want to say. For example, you take a phrase, a sentence. You can say it in different tones, and depending on the tone you give to the sentence, the meaning will be slightly different from what you want to express. Right? When I say, "Okay, I am learning English," that's neutral, a bit neutral. But when I say, "I am learning English," what I'm just trying to say here is that I am the one learning English, not you, right? Or I'm learning English, stressing on the word English. It means that I'm learning English, not French, not German, right? So
Absolutely.
learning all those things and also learning sometimes, the way you can express anger, for example, or maybe surprise, you're surprised, things like that. These are elements that can boost really your confidence when it comes to pronunciation. And that's one of the things that a lot of people don't really take into consideration when learning pronunciation. And when I found that back then I did not really know what prosody was, but as I keep on my journey, I learned what prosody actually is because it helps you be more communicative, be more expressive in order for you to get your message across very well.
I just want to say that to the people watching that, see, I told you he was a good student. That was a beautiful explanation of prosody. So thank you for that.
Right. So, if I were to now take the second part when it comes to uh, the thought model, the mindset work, because I try to call it the CTFAR method or model, is something that I did not really know about before then. Maybe I had some knowledge about it, but I did not really know the core, like, the parts, how I can really integrate that into my daily life, into my English. So when I learned that,
Just again to give context, because a lot of people may not know, mindset is an inherent part of any work that we want to do as humans if we want to grow, right? Whether it's in our personal life, relationships, business, career, and definitely language learning. And mindset is heavily integrated inside all of my programs. And I teach a framework that I've learned with the Life Coach School, which is how your brain works really and how it impacts the results. So the model that we talked about is circumstances, right? Things that happen outside of your control. These are neutral things that are happening. And then we have thoughts, and a thought is the thought that what goes through your mind when you are thinking about the circumstance, right? So circumstance lead to thoughts, and then a thought creates a feeling, right? So it's not that we feel something because of the circumstance, it's the thought that we have that really triggers a feeling. And it happens really quickly. And then what's after feelings?
the action.
The action, right? Like when you're feeling something, it's either you take certain action or you don't take action. So it's actually the things that you do, and usually you operate from how you feel, and that leads to
The results, of
the
course.
results, which is how would you explain it to someone who doesn't know?
Well, the result is simply what you get from the action, whether inaction or action, you get a result, and that result comes from the feeling that you had that before the thought. Meanwhile, the circumstance remains the same because people may think that circumstances are what determine the results. In
Right.
other way, that's not the case. Your thoughts, the way you think about a situation, because that's life situation, life circumstances happen, right? And when that happens, the way you react to it, the way you think about that situation is what will determine the result that you want or the result that you get. Maybe you don't want, right? So
Right.
that's pretty much it.
The results that you get in your life,
You
absolutely.
get in your life, absolutely. So whether in English and then try to connect that a bit of about me is something that really boosts overall my confidence in English. So And by the way,
Can you walk?
I also,
Go ahead.
I also wanted to really make the most of the community using, I mean, practicing that, right? Because it was about having a session. For example, you have a session, and then you may think like, okay, should I click on the link today to join the session, or should I avoid the conversation? So that simple, action of yours, the simple part of clicking on that link to be in that session today, I mean that day, would really help you, because that's where I would practice that thought model on myself. I was like, okay, this is the situation. Now I have to have a thought about it. Okay, I know that if I click on the link today, I will join the conversation and I will practice. And if I practice, I will improve. And if I improve, well, my English will get better, right? So that's pretty much it. Putting this in the order, and that's how the thought model really helped me in new sound.
That's great. And that's such a good example because it's kind of like sometimes we don't do things because we feel resistance and then we think it's not good for us, right? Oh, it's scary. No, no, no. It's going to be bad. I'm not going to join that conversation group. But then when you process your thoughts, it's kind of like, okay, why am I feeling fear? I'm feeling fear because I'm afraid that someone is not going to understand me. Okay, and as a result, I'm not joining, and if I'm not joining, I'm not improving. So it's really like when you're able to see that clearly, and it's not just, ooh, I don't feel like it, but you understand how you think, then all of a sudden you're like, well, I can change that thought, or I can understand that the fact that I'm thinking it doesn't mean that it's true. Right? The fact that I'm thinking I'm not gonna understand someone doesn't mean that it's going to happen. That doesn't mean and doesn't mean that there is something bad about it as well, right? And then it's kinda like it makes it easier for you to click on that link because you want to operate from how you want to feel, right? You want to feel confident. You want to feel expressive. What is one thought that you were able to change, that you started recognizing and was able to change?
Well, it was maybe the thought of fear. I mean, yeah, because even though we have fear within us, because something that it is universal, we can really get rid of it, but we just have to control it. So the thought of, maybe if I speak English, someone will maybe make fun of me, or fun of my English, or I would be like, okay, since they are making fun of me, I do not want to speak anymore in front of people. So those thoughts are something that we want to get rid of it, right?
Yeah.
And
Or to change them to thoughts that are
change.
getting us the results that we want. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If you could say something to Gilbert in 2019, when right after that presentation that you had to, that nightmare that you described where you had to stop speaking in English and you shifted into French, what would you tell him?
I would probably tell Gilbert on that day that even though you did end up the presentation in French, but you can learn English and speak it even way better than these people here, right here. And that is something that I've put my mind into, and I can see the result today.
Yeah. It's kind of like, don't worry, because what we perceive as failure is really a natural part of the journey, and it's not meant to stop you. It's meant to give you clarity as to where you need to focus, right? And I think it's important to hear for people who have had similar experiences and they've given up. It's so important to remember that you can use that as a reminder of what is still to be done. So a big part of what you do now in English is if I understand correctly, you help your community right now connect and speak in English, something new that you've created, right? Do you want to tell me about that?
Yeah, yeah. So it's a small public speaking club that I'm trying to establish here in our community. Uh, so it's not only to to encourage people to take first of all English seriously, because that's the main goal. If you don't take English seriously, but you won't be able to do public speaking in English, right? So you have to first of all take English seriously, get on the journey, get on that journey of English in order for you uh, to get the confidence that you want in order for you to speak publicly, to speak English publicly in front of people. But also, the goal is not only to to do that, but also to train young people to take on leadership roles, so the club can keep growing even when I'm no longer around. So I'm trying to build it from scratch, looking for people who are really committed, motivated, and build that community with them. So it would be what is something that I'm trying to build mostly with in-person sessions, but of course we are having online sessions, of course, from people in France, from people in Romania, so some friends, all those people joining in the club and then connecting, having conversations. That's first of all, at least if you're able to join online sessions, well, the in-person sessions would be, a piece of cake to eat, right? So I'm just trying to build that first for an online session, and then we'll move on to in-person sessions. So that's mainly the goal. So to help people to take English seriously, and then to train those people in order for them to keep the club growing, even when I'm no longer around.
That is incredible. That is incredible. Giving back is part of, like how we see the growth journey in English in our community, from going from an avoider to an anxious speaker to a brave speaker to challenger. And now you are influencing others and taking, yeah, you're an influencer.
Why the reason that I'm really doing this is something that I learned years ago. I mean, on my English journey from Maya Angelou. She always says, I mean, she used to say, she's no longer among us, but she used to say, when you learn, teach, and when you get, give, because knowledge it's not just about putting all the knowledge that you want to, like, that putting it, but it's about passing it on to generation. And that's my main goal. Not only to influence those people positively, and so they can take English seriously, but also be a second me when I'm no longer around, especially. So that's pretty much the goal here.
I love that, and I love that quote, and I definitely need to remind of that quote or be reminded of it more often. Thank you so much. What is one more question that I have for you. What is something that you are really proud of? Not necessarily related to English, but about who you are, what you've become, what you do. What is one thing you're proud of?
Well, maybe I'm just going to shift from English to personal life.
Yep.
The like first of all, being able to complete what I came here for is my biggest pride. And because even though we have different life paths, and we get to follow each path as we can, sometimes we say it's your destiny or whatever, but at least if you put your mind into something, that's my case. I was like, okay, I came here for a reason, and then first of all, I have to complete that reason at least. That would be not only I would be not only proud of myself for that, but also my parents would be proud of me. So that's pretty much it. First of all, being able to complete what I came here for. That's it. And then maybe another pride, maybe is being able to speak English like this, right? And that was not something that just came yesterday or or today, but it was something that I built over time, and today I'm really proud of it. So that's pretty much it.
As you should be. And I'm sure that your family is very, very proud of you, because what you've done is not to be taken for granted, and it's a lot and super impressive. So, congratulations on all you've achieved. And I bet that there's a lot more waiting for you.
Absolutely. I always say that because even though I have not started working in English, but I know that there is, you know, many more opportunities to come. So,
Yeah.
and I hope for that. And of course, it will come if you believe it. If I believe it, and I do
Yeah.
believe it, so
Yeah.
it will come.
Yeah. For sure. What is one piece of advice as we wrap up? One piece of advice that you would give someone who knows English, but they're afraid of speaking up or sharing their voice or making mistakes or not understanding someone? What would you tell them?
The advice I would give someone maybe who is not has not maybe started the English learning journey, or maybe they know a bit of English but they are afraid of expressing themselves, is to find a community.
Mm,
I months ago I was watching this video on TED Talk. This woman was talking about confidence and community. She was like, confidence takes at least three things to exist. And in order for you to have that confidence, you have to first of all give yourself permission to do so. So looking for community is giving yourself permission to do so, right? And that community is the second part. So you give yourself permission, you find a community, that community, and use that community to practice whatever you want to do. I don't know, it's not just about speaking English, but since we are trying to relate this to English, is it find a community, find people who have the same goal with you, like you, so you can practice with them. That was basically the main goal here. Like when I was telling that I'm trying to build a public speaking English club here, is pretty much it. So you're curious, you give yourself permission to learn, you find a community, and you're curious about learning those things. So that is something that will really help you. So, but if you just stay in your comfort zone, or at least you don't have maybe people online to practice, well, it will be difficult for you to do, because you cannot learn if you don't practice, right? So you cannot learn how to swim in the book and then you stay in the book. Right? You have to jump in the water in order for you
yeah.
to swim, right?
Yeah.
So you know a bit of English, but you're afraid of speaking it. Okay, what I suggest right now is you can find a community. Maybe it's not just about the number of people, but even if it's two people or maybe a speaking partner online with whom you can practice your English. So that's pretty much it. And then over time, you will of course be able to stand in front of people one day to speak the language.
Right, because when you practice in a place that is safe with your community, then a lot of the resistance and the reservations you have about speaking, it disappears or it's softer, and then you build the confidence through speaking. So absolutely for language learning, I think community is fundamental. It's like, I don't know how it's possible to do it without. Like, it's possible, but it's just a lot harder. But also, like, when I think about my journey and my business journey, and when I started this online business, I was totally alone. Like I was just looking at what other people were doing. And I was, had to, like, I had all these thoughts and questions, and I felt very, very lonely. And the first program that I joined that had a community, I was like, oh, it doesn't have to be this hard. I can ask questions, I can connect. People get me. Like, I don't feel alone. And then when you don't feel alone, there is a lot more motivation and excitement about doing the
Absolutely.
thing that is
Absolutely.
already hard, right? But when you're motivated about it, or when you are held accountable, or when you need to tell them how this went and how that went, it's a lot easier. So it's good for building any skill, and when it comes to language learning, even more so, because you get to speak with people that make you feel like you have the space to speak, which is,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
So community is everything.
You're speaking directly to my heart when you're saying that. Yeah, I feel that. All right. Gilbert, thank you so, so much for this
Thank you, Hadar.
conversation. I appreciate it. Like, I think there are so many insights and great nuggets to understand and to see, like, what does a successful journey look like? And this is definitely one. So thank you so much for sharing from your experience and your time. And I appreciate you very, very much. So thank you.
Thank you, Hadar. I really enjoyed the conversation, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And the last part, maybe I want to My last words that I want to say is about you, of course, and the your team, because when I see what I'm capable of doing with English today, because today I don't see English as just a tool. I mean, as just a subject that we get to learn, but a tool that I'm really using to explore, the world. And this part, maybe the recent part of my English learning, which is new sound, was really something that, as I said, really boosted my English confidence overall. So you giving us that opportunity, I'm talking about me and the 19 other people, you giving us that opportunity to join New Sound was something that really meant to me than people may realize, because it reminded me how far I had come. And looking back today, saying myself, speaking English like this today, I come to realize that learning in English was not just about, the language, but it was really about finding my voice. When I also remember back then during my English learning, English classes, and I remember that I couldn't really open my mouth and speak. Saying myself today, I realized that it was really about finding my voice, transforming from someone who sat silently during English classes into someone who can stand in front of people and speak English with confidence. And that's probably maybe the beautiful thing about learning a new language. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you uh, for your kindness, for your love, for your support. And also thank you to this amazing community, I mean, amazing team that you have that works with you for helping people find their voices. So I just want to say thank you, to show gratitude, and I will show gratitude forever. So thank you so much, Hadar.
Thank you so much. I cherish every word and I'm grateful to you too. Thank you.
All right.